Okay, everyone, good evening. Tonight is Thursday, October 24th, 2013. I am Darkside Phil, and welcome to another edition of the Hate Live Beta Podcast. I haven't done one in a couple weeks, so I'm excited to jump back into it. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. This is like the loaded episode, all right? We've got gaming news. We've got the impending release of Batman Arkham Origins later tonight. We've got new product launches. We've got all kinds of internet issues. We've got just so much to talk about. And in addition, tonight on the stream, I'm actually going to be giving away a copy of Batman Arkham City. So for those of you who are watching live on the stream on Twitch TV, good opportunity for you to win something, all right? And if you're watching this on YouTube, well, I apologize that obviously I can't give it away to you guys. However, that's perfectly fine. You are eligible for the Hardcore Gaming Season giveaway, of which there's several weeks left. By the way, if you didn't watch it, you got to go watch the video because tomorrow is the cutoff. Tomorrow is it. If you want to get your entries in for this week's Hardcore Gaming Season giveaway, you need to do it right away. Okay? So please jump in and enter if you have not yet. I think there's under 400 entries for the thing that I thought was going to be one of the most sought out items. So you definitely want to check that out. Okay? All right, everyone. So Hate Live tonight is going to be jam-packed full of info. So I'm going to get right into it. It's going to have all three segments like usual. First segment's going to be covering what I've been up to, what's coming up in the next couple of days, especially with Batman Arkham Origins and the crazy amount of releases next week. We're going to talk about the status of some of my current projects like Suicide Kings and my year-end series that are coming up in the next couple of months. We're going to talk about gaming news. We're going to talk about product launch news. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. That's going to consist of segment 1, and then we're going to have a lengthy discussion about Batman Arkham Origins. Then, for segment 2, it's going to be Back in the Day, a new Tales of Arcadia episode, where I'm going to be talking about the history of arcade fighting games. And, god damn it, pushed a button by accident. Special thanks to FightersGeneration.com. They've got an excellent website that actually outlines the history of arcade fighting games, what years they came out. And I'm going to be going through year by year and telling you about each game, what exactly it was, what games went head-to-head, which was more popular at the time. I'm going to tell you all about the culture and the stuff that was going on during those days of burgeoning arcade games. I thought that would be a really cool opportunity to talk about that, all right? And then, of course, the third segment, we're going to be doing live Q&A, where people have the opportunity, as of right now, to submit their questions via the stream raffle. And then at the end of the stream, we're going to go to sub-only mode on the stream chat so I can pull questions and answer them for everyone. So I would ask the mods if you could please enable the stream raffle to be open so that people could submit their questions here on the stream. That would be awesome. And we'll go from there. So I see that Color Me Kevin has enabled it. Very good. Actually, tonight, instead of water, I'll be drinking my G Fuel energy drinks because I've got a pretty long night ahead of me with the Batman Arkham Origins impending release, which we're about to talk about in just a few moments. Okay? Delicious. Okay. And no, they're not a paid sponsor. I actually just like the product. All right. So, let's get right to it. This week, I was on break. I was on a break with Panda Lee. She was here visiting. We did actually do a very short, it was only about 2 hours worth, Halloween special. We played Fatal Frame 3 together. If you want to check that out, it's already live on DSP Gaming, okay? And then, starting on Tuesday, I got back into the swing of things. Now, I knew I had some things to finish up, including Zelda Wind Waker, all right? Which I did. I actually completed it as of yesterday. I did complete Zelda The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, okay? In addition to that, I did a couple other things, including, yesterday, really unique, it's called The Stanley Parable, okay? It is a Steam-only right now, so PC-only game. It blew my mind. It is such a unique, creative game. It is actually, I'm going to throw this out here, it's one of my favorite games of this year, even though it's so simple in its premise. The variety of things that happen in this game, the crazy amount of different executions, the little hidden nuances that you can find are awesome. And I played the game for 2 hours straight, and I could have kept going. For a game that you can literally beat it within like 4 minutes, to get over 2 hours of content and I'm still going, it was awesome. I loved it, and I can't really describe to you what the game's like. You just have to watch for yourself. So the playthrough is live on DSP Gaming right now as well. I implore you, You got to check that out when you get a chance. Even if you're busy with, oh no, well, Batman's out and all this. I understand this is a crazy gaming week. You got to check that out. I mean, it's one of the most original things I've played in quite some damn time. I'm going to be talking about it in my year-end videos, definitely. So check it out, okay? Right now, I'm actually struggling to remember what the hell it was that I played Tuesday night. I cannot remember. It wasn't more Beyond Two Souls. It wasn't Grand Theft Auto. What the hell was it? It's killing me now because now I can't. Hold on a second. Now I feel stupid because I don't remember what the hell I did just like 2 days ago. Hold on. I'll get to the bottom of this. That's right. I did. Sorry, everybody. It's one of those weeks. It's going to be one of those weeks. I did the Saints Row 4 Enter the Dominatrix DLC. Now, if you don't know what the hell that is, I don't blame you. This was a DLC that was originally announced for Saints Row 3. So we're talking 2 years ago this DLC was supposed to be out. But then what happened was the development team got so heavily ingrained into making Saints Row Enter the Dominatrix, they said, we could just turn this into a full-fledged game if we just really change the plot around. And so they changed the plot, and they turned it into Saints Row 4, but then they decided for the first DLC for Saints Row 4, they would take kind of like almost a director's cut behind the scenes of what happened and why they turned this DLC into Saints Row 4 and what was taken out of it, because a lot was taken out of Saints Row 4. And so they kind of presented it originally as it was supposed to be, as a standalone DLC. It's completely insane. It's got giant dildo dicks. It's got She-Bulk in like a fucking S&M full leather outfit. Her titties are fucking big green jugs just dancing around. It's got fucking some of the craziest shit. Riding raptors while they sing do the dinosaur. It's insane. It's absolutely ass fucking insane. That's the best way to describe the DLC. It's ass fucking insane. And I enjoyed it, but I can understand why a lot of people are like, what the fuck was this? You know, like, it's that much of a weird-ass thing that I can even understand why they said this DLC might not do well. Let's fucking make it a full game and then release this as later on. That I played. Check it out. It is live on DSP Gaming as well. So that's what I've been up to this week. Okay? Now, today, I did not do a first stream for multiple reasons, and we're going to get to that right now because it's a major problem right now going on, which a lot of you may not be aware of. Number one, first of all, I knew I was going to be up late tonight because I wanted to go to the midnight release of Batman Arkham Origins, which I am going to do, and we're going to talk about that en masse, so don't worry, we're going to get to that. But I said, I'm going to need to rest up then. I can't get up early in the morning and expect to be up at midnight to be playing this game all night, all right? So I slept in today. I slept in a lot. I actually took another nap later on. And I got some stuff done. There was some stuff around here I needed to get done, and some odds and ends and things, and it was a good opportunity to do that, all right? Now, what I was attempting to do was, while I was sleeping in, upload the rest of Wind Waker, which I had completed on Wednesday. That was the plan. It was like 26 videos. I wanted them all to go live so that anyone who wanted to watch the end of Wind Waker could do so before the chaos of Batman Arkham Origins, which undoubtedly I knew was going to be dominating my channel for several days. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way because YouTube is fucked up. That's right. YouTube has crapped the bed, basically. For the past several weeks, here's been the deal. You go to upload 10 videos, 3 of them won't ever process. They'll just stick in processing for 5+ hours without ever processing so no one can see them. So you have to keep re-uploading until finally YouTube decides to process those videos, all right? Now, it hasn't been that bad. It's been maybe a couple videos here and there per batch that I've uploaded. Now, all of a sudden, I come back from break, YouTube doesn't want to process anything. I had like 16 videos that were stuck in processing overnight. So, right now, I'll be honest with everyone, if you were watching Wind Waker, it's a fucking mess. It's basically live up to one point, I think it's part like 117, but the entire final 13 videos of the playthrough, like 3 of them are live, but they're random. They're in the middle of it. It's not like in order, and the others are stuck. I actually messaged YouTube about it. YouTube publicly admitted on Twitter there is a major problem right now with YouTube, okay? They actually asked me to directly send them the links of the videos that were stuck, so I did. I don't know if that's going to help anything. I have no clue. And the bottom line is, if you're watching this on Twitch, good for you, you're watching it live streamed. I have no idea when this podcast is even going to show up on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now and it's like abnormally late, like why did this show up so late? That's why, and I apologize, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get this on YouTube. And this is actually continuing into all what I'm talking about for tonight, for Batman Arkham Origins, and this whole weekend. I don't have a clue if YouTube's going to work properly or not. And I have to apologize for everyone. Obviously, you know, we're trying to get a good midnight release playthrough. I'm going to do release day unboxing at midnight when I pick up the game. I want that to upload. I don't know if it will. And the playthrough as well. I wanted to do exactly what I did for Saints Row 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5, where I started a live stream, played it for like a half an hour to an hour, all right, and then start uploading that footage to YouTube. And so basically you got YouTube videos going up alongside my stream so that you have footage to watch if you couldn't catch the stream. That's what I wanted to do. I don't know if that's going to work. I have no idea if any videos that I upload will show up, all right? And I apologize for that. I wish I had control over it, but YouTube, I don't know anymore, man. They just, oh, let's tweak how this one page looks. Let's fuck with this one page here, and then the whole site fucks up. It's like, then why did you bother? What did you add to the site that added any kind of functionality that was worth it for your business to not operate properly for days at a time? You've heard me rant for quite a long time about YouTube, so I'm not going to go into further detail, but that's what's going on with YouTube right now. I'm very disappointed because Batman Arkham Origins, one of the biggest games of the year for me. I really want to play it. I really want to, you know, upload it, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to, and I apologize for that, okay? However, sorry, towel's falling here. However, the good news is that I'm not only on YouTube anymore. That's right. I also have a Twitch TV presence. So starting tonight, as I said, after I finish Hate Live tonight, I'm actually going to try to upload it to YouTube, which basically means I'm going to try to queue it up for upload like 3 to 4 times, and hopefully one of them will stick in process. As soon as I'm done with that, I'm out the door. I'm on the way to GameStop. I'm going to be waiting there for the midnight release of Batman Arkham Origins, pick up my game, come back home. I'm going to be doing release day unboxing, like I said. Now, there's an update. I have an update regarding what version of Batman Arkham Origins I'm actually picking up tonight, and it might surprise you, okay? Now, with a lot of these major games, I like to get the collector's edition of the game. In fact, you guys have seen my collection multiple times, I'm sure, in my condo tour videos where I show you all the collector's edition figures and things that I've gotten over the years. In fact, right here in front of me, we've got the figurine, whatever you want to call it, that I got for Batman Arkham City's collector's edition. It's prominently right there on my front bookshelf. So I like these cool things. I think it's cool to get swag, little knickknacks and things that remind you of great games that you've played, all right? And I did have, at one point, the collector's edition of Batman Arkham Origins pre-ordered. But then as more information came out, and they said, all right, so here's exactly what you get with it, all right? You're going to get, I think it was like an art book. All right, whatever. Art book's nice, but it's not like something amazing and knock me on my ass. It comes with a Blu-ray DVD. And the Blu-ray DVD is about, I believe it's either DC Comics or just Batman villains, all right? But then I realized it's coming out this week. It's supposedly you could get it like on demand this week for $5. So, okay, that's really not an extra. I'm probably just going to watch it on demand then. Why do I need to own the thing, right? The only other thing it comes with, I believe it does come with the soundtrack. And it also comes with, in North America, and this is what I need to emphasize, the North American Collector's Edition comes with a statue of the Joker, like in a throne made of televisions, and surrounded by televisions, and supposedly it lights up, and it's really nice. But here's the thing. I already have a fucking amazing giant statue of the Joker, Arkham Joker, right over here on my my bar. I've had it for over a year. I love it. I don't think I'm ever going to get a better statue of the Joker than that statue that I have. And looking at my condo, how fucking cluttered it's become over these years that I've been doing this on YouTube, I said, enough. And so this is where I'm going to start cutting off when it comes to collector's editions. If it's something that I'm really not in love with, and it's expensive, which it is in this case, it's a lot of extra money to get the collector's edition in North America, and especially in this case, I already have another statue of the character, I'm not going to do it. All right? And I am going to be cutting back more when it comes to collector's editions because I just don't have room to put this stuff. Now, of course, I say that, and now next week, of course, I have Assassin's Creed 4 and WWE 2K14 that I do have the collector's editions reserved, all right? So I just wanted to clarify that of why I didn't get the collector's edition of Batman Arkham Origins, okay? So during the release day unboxing tonight, it's just going to be the standard edition of the game. So I apologize for anyone who might be upset. Oh, I wanted to see the statue. Well, you know, I don't have anywhere to put it, so that's that, okay? And then after that's done, now here's the thing. I'm going to do release day unboxing. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to try to get it ready, and I'm going to try to upload it, but I don't know if it's going to go live. Again, I can't promise that it will go live. I'll probably upload it several times. I'm going to set up here on Twitch TV for the Arkham Origins stream, all right? We have gotten permission from Twitch that as of midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time, we can stream. So I'm going to begin then, and I'm going to be doing it for several hours, similar to how I did with Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row 4, where I'll probably, for the first couple of hours, be playing it, and then all of a sudden, you know, I might start having a few drinks. I'll admit it, I've been enjoying this, actually, where I do extended gameplay at midnight, a few hours, and then after a few hours when I'm starting to get sore and tired, I have a few drinks. It helps me relax a little bit, and it helps me play a little bit more. And we're going to play into the morning. I don't know what time. I think for Saints Row, I stopped around maybe 6, 7 a.m., but I think for Grand Theft Auto, I went to like past 8. I don't even remember exactly, but I know we played pretty damn long, okay? Being that this is a primarily action and stealth-based game, I don't know how well I'm going to be doing that late in the morning, especially after a few drinks. Therefore, I don't know when I'm going to stop, but I will be doing a very long stream session come tonight, okay? And then what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to try to upload those videos to YouTube. I can't guarantee they'll actually work, but I can try to upload. If they don't work, they don't work. What I'll do is I'll queue them up for upload, and if they don't stick, I'll try to re-upload. And if they stick again, I'll try to re-upload them one more time, and then I'll go to sleep. And hopefully, by the time that I get up in the afternoon, some of those have fucking processed, all right? I don't know. I really am upset about this. You can tell, obviously, how upset I am. When there's a great game, it's a game everyone wants to see. Everyone's been waiting for the playthrough. You guys watch my Arkham Asylum and Arkham City playthroughs. Some of my most popular videos ever. Everyone says they're great. Can't wait for Arkham Origins. And now this happens, and no one knows when I'm going to be able to get the videos up. It's a shame, okay? And the one thing I do want to say very quickly, I know that people are tempted to watch playthroughs before they're supposed to be out. Right now, there are people right now who have playthroughs out. I know it for a fact. One of them I had words with, actually, earlier this year. Because this is a guy who I actually stuck up for when his channel got unfairly shut down temporarily because he was putting up Dragon Ball Z videos, Dragon Ball Z video game, and I stuck up for him, and I said, that's not right. You know, it's bullshit. It's a playthrough. It's protected under fair use. And I stuck up for this guy. Come to find out a few months later, this guy's so desperate to make money. And this is what I mean about YouTubers who are just in it for the money. He's so desperate to make money, he found a contact who could get him games ahead of time. And he does playthroughs of games a week or two before they're released retail. Completely illegally. And he gets away with it for somehow no one's reported him. And he gets big views on this. And he's one of the few people right now on YouTube who has an ongoing playthrough of Batman Arkham Origins already going. And he kind of messaged me about something unrelated. And I went and looked at his channel and I saw what he was doing. And I basically blew up on him. And I was like, listen, dude, you're completely immoral what you're doing. You shouldn't be breaking street date. It's not fair to anyone. And obviously you're just doing it because you're a greedy bastard. There's no other reason to break street date. The only reason people are watching your videos is because, not because of the quality of your video, it's because you broke street date and you're the only person who has the video ahead of time. And it's not right. And basically don't talk to me anymore because I don't want to hear from someone who's going to be immoral like that. And I have not had words with this guy since. And it's a shame because, like I said, this was a guy who I used to have communication with. We used to kind of support each other back and forth. And now I don't talk to him anymore because he's just a greedy fucking bastard. All right? So I want to warn everyone. I know people are dying to watch the playthrough. Oh, I want to watch it. Don't support these people who are breaking street, who are stealing the games. Because I'm sure whoever these people get these games, they're not legitimate ways. If you get an advanced review copy, that doesn't give you right to go do a playthrough of the game. You're just supposed to review it. So these people are breaking the law. Don't support those people. Okay? Okay. Okay, so that's what's going to happen with Batman Arkham Origins, all right? And that's what's happening. That's my plan. So the plan is to do that and to upload. And then all day Friday is going to be Batman Arkham Origins. Both my first and second streams will be Batman Arkham Origins, all right? So understand, this is Batman Day. It's like a full day of just Batman. And then I'm going to try to upload the videos, and we'll see what happens with YouTube. Now, Saturday, this is good, because I'm going to have Batman Overload on Friday. Saturday, I immediately get a day off from it, because John Rambo is going to be coming. We're going to do Smart Guys, and we're also going to be doing Lego Marvel Superheroes cooperative gameplay, all right? Which we've played other Lego games before. We love them. Marvel Superheroes, I mean, come on. We're such aficionados on Marvel at this point. It's going to be great to hear us doing commentary and joking around about the characters and such. From what we've heard, the game is great. So we're really looking forward to this game, and that's going to be Saturday, all right? Sunday, we're getting back to Batman, all right? And then what happens on Monday is going to be dependent on how far I've gotten in Batman. If I've beaten it by Sunday or first stream Monday, then maybe second stream I'll try the multiplayer of Batman. Maybe I'll take the time to review Batman, but obviously I need to play the multiplayer before I can review Batman, because the multiplayer is a major new component, supposedly, of the game, all right? So that's the plan, the rough plans for the rest of the week. Now, Tuesday of next week, as you know, 3 major games. 3 major games coming out on the same day. Yes, I will be trying to attend. I'm not going to promise it, but I'm going to attempt to attend that midnight release as well. And I'll be playing Assassin's Creed 4 on that midnight stream. And then when I wake up later in the day, I'll probably be doing Battlefield Campaign and then WWE 2K14. And then I'll spread those out over the course of the week, going between them all until I get sufficient amount of gameplay into all of them. I'm sure Assassin's Creed is going to be insanely long. I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat it that week with the other games that are going to be out at the same time, okay? So that's the rough plan for the next week to week and a half. I know it's jam-packed. I know it's an insane amount of content, but this is what happens. The hardcore gaming season, everyone releases their games at the same time, and it just gets all blown up like this. I'm going to do my best to stay fresh for you guys, to not get burnt out, but at the same time to try to get through this stuff in a reasonable amount of time rather than me doing a playthrough of these games for the next 4 months. You know what I mean? Especially because we have new consoles to get to. Okay. So, that's the schedule. Thank you for bearing with me for me going through that. Now, some updates. Some updates on ongoing projects. First of all, Suicide Kings. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Suicide Kings is a series that I did way back during the release of Red Dead Redemption. So we're talking like 3 years ago, okay? John Rambo and I jumped online and teamed up with some random people here and there. And we tried to basically make each other die in hilarious ways, okay? Whether it was jumping off of the highest cliff and spinning in place, careening into a waterfall, hijacking a stagecoach full of 12 people and driving it off the edge of a giant mountain. We tried to find hilarious ways to die. Those videos went viral and got hundreds of thousands of views between them. And it was, to this date, I'd say it's one of my most successful independent projects because that was straight out of my mind to do that, and people loved it. So I said, Grand Theft Auto 5, we got to do it again. And especially with this Grand Theft Auto Online, that's a separate online mode. It's supposed to be so good with all this independence and freedom of free roam. Let's do it. So I've already done, I believe now, 3 sessions where I've been with my viewers and fans. John Rambo joined me for a few of those sessions, and we did some absolutely hilarious stuff in Grand Theft Auto Online. I want to do a couple more sessions, all right? And then once that's done, I want to make this montage video. It's going to be the return of Suicide Kings, the triumphant return of Suicide Kings. And then later on, once they actually allow the level creator and the level creation tool, which is not available right now, then we can really do some crazy shit. We can start missions where we're already in planes and we're dive bombing and doing all kinds of shit. But you can't do that right now, okay? So I'm going to work on this video. However, it's not coming out soon. I think some people were under the impression, oh, it's coming out right now, right? Like, well, wait a minute. You know, I want to take my time. I want to make sure it's good. Those Suicide Kings videos that we did in Red Dead Redemption, those took weeks to make. All right? So I actually want to kind of put it off until December when things have calmed down. The new consoles are out, and I've already probably played the launch titles for them. Things are a little bit slower, and I want to take the time to work on it and make it good. All right? I don't want to just rush it out there. It's just a couple montage clips and it's done. I want this to be something special. So that's going to be coming in December alongside my year-end series, which I've actually I brainstormed the other day on my fridge. I have that little dry erase board. I was brainstorming what exactly I want to do with my year-end series this year. And it's going to be some of the ones are going to return. For example, you know, obviously my Game of the Year awards are going to be there, the fan-voted funniest moments of the year. And what I would ask of you, the viewer, is, there is a thread on my forums, thekingofhate.com, already. It's in the DSP playthroughs area, all right? It's the funniest moments of the year nomination thread. People all year have been nominating their funniest moments. I'm asking you for help. I'd like you to go over there and start nominating your funniest moments in that thread. All you need to do is post up a link to the video that it's in. It helps, obviously, if you put a timestamp as well so people know where to look where the funny moment is, and say why you think it's one of the funniest moments of the year. I'm probably going to be using that thread as the basis to create the poll sometime next month where you can vote on your personal funniest moment, and that'll be made into a year-end series this year. Now, something's returning from last year, but maybe with a different little bit of a name. I'm going to be doing the top games of the year that you probably didn't play. Now, last year I think I called them surprisingly good, but some people took offense and said, oh, well, I didn't think that was going to be surprisingly good. I knew that was going to be good. What I'm basically trying to say is games that a lot of people have not heard of, games that I did get a chance to play, and I absolutely loved, and I think that they need more exposure. More people should be talking about these games and giving these games a chance. There have been a bunch of them. A lot of them have been Xbox and PSN indie titles, and some have been PC games that I've played that, were more indie titles. It really has been kind of the year of indies, where indies have been showing up a lot of the main publishers with their creativity and originality in the games they're putting out there. And I want to showcase those. So that's going to be one of my year-end series where I showcase those games, okay? We're still going to do the worst gaming trends of the year. Boy, this year has had a lot of issues. I mean, between anti-gamer policies, between game delays, between just so much stuff. I mean, I have a whole listing of it on my fridge where I was brainstorming so much negativity and stuff that was like, what were they thinking in 2013? You know, when we're trying to move forward positively with oh, it's a huge billion-dollar industry now, we can do all of a sudden these companies just started like rebelling against the gamer. And people were like, what the fuck happened in 2013? And we're going to talk about that, but that'll be a year-end series. However, again, focusing on the positivity, I have a new series I will be doing for year-end. It's going to be the best things that happened to me this year. There's a lot of positive things. Yeah, I know. People might be like, what, really? Yeah, this year, regardless of the fact that there was a lot of things that happened that may have been viewed as negative, and right now there's this huge anti-DSP campaign by a bunch of fucking mental midgets on YouTube. There was a lot of positive stuff and positive changes that I made this year that I think in the long run are only going to benefit me. And so I'm going to focus on that in this series, a positive series about that kind of stuff, okay? And then there is going to be a Christmas special this year, but I have not yet decided what exactly the special is going to be on, okay? I don't know if it's going to be like I did last year, where it was a musical medley and I was joking about the stuff that happened during the year. People loved that, by the way. The Christmas special, by far, last year had huge positive reception, and I'm so pleased because I put a lot of work into it, and you guys gave me the positive feedback that I was looking for. I loved it, and that's why I'm reinvigorated to do something else creative for you this year. And I was thinking about doing something like that, but at the same time I was thinking about, well, a lot of the times the fans say they want to do fan appreciation stuff, and I don't know when I'm going to have time to do it. Maybe I should just do that Christmas week with all the huge releases that are coming out. I don't know. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I should do something completely different. Maybe I should. There was this idea that I've had in my head for a couple of years now. And it was originally I wanted to do it last year, but because of circumstances and things that happened, which I'm trying not to be too specific because I don't want to spoil it, I couldn't do it. So I'm actually thinking that maybe this year would be the year to do it, but at the same time, I don't know if I have the means to do it. And I have to really think in my head about it. What could I do for Christmas special? So I'm going to be brainstorming. I'm going to be thinking creatively and outside the box. And hopefully I'll be able to put something together great for you guys, okay? Alright, so now let's get into gaming news, because there's a lot of gaming news that went down over the past couple of weeks, and I've been on break, so I haven't had a chance to talk about it, okay? Okay, Okay. So the first gaming news I want to talk about, let's just get it out of the way. For some, it's a huge announcement. Oh my god, my life has changed. And for others, they're like, whatever. Apple had a press conference this week where they announced their new line of iPads and the new line of software that's coming to all iOS devices, okay? So, there's a new iPad coming out. It's called the iPad Air. What it is, it's smaller than this one, which is the iPad 2, the full-size iPad, but it's bigger than the iPad mini, so it's kind of like the iPad medium? I don't know. It basically is going to have all the same stuff as the iPad 2. It's going to have a powerful A7 processor, and it's light. The gimmick that they're giving with this iPad is that it only weighs a pound. This iPad probably weighs about 2 to 2.5 pounds. The gimmick that they're saying with this iPad is it only weighs a pound. It's super light. It's like holding a book in your hand. And the thing that they were pushing at this press conference, which completely baffles me, the era of one-handed tablet usage is here because it weighs so little you can use it with one hand. To which I say, how the fuck, even if this weighed, even if this was weighed this much of a piece of paper, how do I use my iPad? Look, with one hand, my thumb is short. How the fuck do I navigate around the screen with my thumb? It only reaches the bottom corner of the screen. How can you one-handed iPad? They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It's just a stupid gimmick. They're trying to sell the dumb iPad. All right? And then they announced, of course, by the way, of course the iPad is fucking expensive as hell. I think it was either $499 or $599, some astronomical amount of money for this new iPad, okay? The other announcement was there's a new iPad mini. Ooh, the iPad mini's only been out for a year. Let's make a new one already, right? The only difference, all right, is that it now, I believe it now is going to have the same processing power as the other iPads. So it's not like the iPad mini was a little bit slower than the other iPads. Now it's catching up, and it's going to have the same display. They call it the Retina display as the regular iPad, which is it's a nice, very vibrant, very awesome looking touchscreen display. Absolutely. But the iPad mini didn't have it. They had a scaled down version. Now they're getting the full-fledged screen. So you can get all those amazing non-features for $100 more. So pay another $100 just to have your iPad mini be as good as the other iPads. Sure, why not? This is what I mean. They're like, wow, big press conference. We're announcing these big changes. What changes? You got another iPad middle that you claim you can use with one hand and you can't. And you got a new iPad mini that no one fucking cares about because I'm not paying another $100 if I just bought one last year. It's really dumb. All right? And then the other changes that they actually mentioned was that there's big changes coming to their software. There's all this new Apple software that's going to be coming out, and it's all free. And to that I say, all right, thumbs up, guys, because you charge us so damn much for the hardware. You know what I mean? It's so fucking expensive. It's a good thing that you guys are updating your software and you're giving that to us for free. So that, okay, that I'm in full support of. For me, the press conference was like a non-conference. Like, why did you do we need a press conference to announce iPad middle? You know what I mean? Like, wow, there was no, you didn't announce a new product. You announced the same product again, only with minor tweaks. That doesn't need its own press conference, but everyone knows these Apple fanboys, oh my god, I gotta get it. I just bought my iPad last year. Fuck it. I'm gonna go throw it in the trash and go buy the new one because I need it, because Apple's my life, you know? Like me, I got the iPhone 5 earlier this year, so now the iPhone 5S came out, so people are like, fuck it, I don't need this. They smash it and they go get the iPhone 5S, even though it barely has anything different about it. Like, these people are fucking weird, man. I am definitely not one of those people, okay? Alright, so the last piece of gaming news that I want to talk about, actually, hold on, before we move on from iPad, because this is something I wanted to talk about. There is an app out right now on your iPad. It is called the Batman Arkham Origins app. I'm actually booting it up right now to show you guys. It is free to download, and it's from the same people who made the Injustice app earlier this year for iOS devices. So I figured, why don't I tell you guys my thoughts about this app, alright? It's a piece of shit. It's terrible. This app is so boring and blasé. I'm going to show you the combat in this game. How stupid this game is, alright? So here you are. You're in your Batcave. You tap on it, and it brings you up to, okay, here's your character who you can buy upgrades for, with currency you either earn in the game or you spend real money to get. So I hit him. I want to do a mission, alright? So let me do a mission. I'm going to go to an easy mission to show you an example mission here. Here, we'll do this one. It's a very simple mission. Alright? It's called Night of the Bat. And what I'm supposed to do is fight some people. So here, I'm going to fight the people. Ready? Oh! 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 Oh, yes! Oh, this is so good! Oh, you eat my fist! Oh, wait, I'm not done yet. Oh! Oh! Oh, here we go! Oh, yes! Come on! Oh, come on, one more kick! Oh my god, it's amazing! Oh no, I gotta keep pressing it. Oh, hold on. Oh, I fucked up. I didn't do the comp. Oh, I got a block now. Oh, I got hit by the move. Oh, I gotta keep the. Oh, hold on. I gotta do a special move now. Oh, I have to go on the screen. Oh, here we go. Oh, victory! Oh! You see what it is? It's horrible. You just tap the screen and act like an asshole. And the bottom line is, it's pathetic because this app is a watered-down version of the Injustice app, which was released earlier this year to tie in with the Injustice game that came out, the fighting game for consoles. The Injustice app is excellent. The Injustice app has a roster of over a dozen characters, okay? As you play through the game, you use currency points to unlock more characters that you can play as. You unlock supers, you unlock special abilities. The game actually has gameplay similar to some fighting games that I've played. The only difference is it's all touchscreen buttons rather than doing motions with the controller, okay? And that app has been getting updates all year. Just today, they released a new character, Blackest Night Batman, and you have to beat a couple challenges and you unlock him as a playable character. That app is superb, and by the way, it's made by NetherRealm, the same people who made the console fighting game. This game is the same game. What they did, this character, this Batman, is the same exact Batman from Injustice. What they did is they just took the code out of the Injustice game for Batman, they slapped it into this game, they gave you a bunch of generic enemies to fight, who, by the way, the enemies are based off of the characters in Injustice. There's some girl in here, I forget what her name is, like, I don't know, fucking Barracuda or some shit, and she looks exactly like Catwoman. It's like the same animations and everything. So basically they said, we need to make a game, a tie-in game for this new one coming out. What can we do? They said, let's just steal the code from our other game and do a little facelift and put it and make a real shitty generic fighter, and that's what this is. It's terrible. The game's absolutely awful. Now, the only reason I'm showing you this is because this game, supposedly, when you hit certain levels and you complete certain challenges, you're going to unlock things in the actual console game. And so far, according to this, I've unlocked 3 what they're called Cobblepot treasures or something. I have no idea what these are, and in fact, the game doesn't explain to you what they are. So they could just be stupid little accessory packs for like the multiplayer of Batman Arkham Origins, and you have no idea how to know that. You would never know. So I messed with it a little bit this week. It's absolutely nothing to worry about. If you don't have an iOS device, you're not missing out. It's one of the worst dial-it-in games I've ever seen in my life. Compared to the Injustice app, it's a laughing stock, and it's not even worth your time unless you actually really want to try to get unlocks in Batman Arkham Origins, okay? Someone said there's a bug on my wall. There is a bug on my wall. It's a spider. Here's a spider going that way. I'm going to leave them. I like spiders. I like spiders. I let them, as long as they don't go out of hand. Spiders are going to eat all the other bugs in the condo. So usually when I see a little spider like that, I actually let them live. There's no reason to kill a little innocent spider, especially if he's going to do me, he's actually going to the corner of my condo where it's cluttered. Good. Head over there and eat anything in the corner. Go. Okay. So, the last thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to take a break, and we'll go into the next segment. Hey, I said keep going that way. Now he's turning around. He's going to be a dick. Watch, he's going to fucking walk back and forth on the wall the whole podcast. Watch this. He's coming back. What an asshole. All right, the last thing I want to talk about are the huge news from last week that I didn't get to talk about because I was on break. Game delays and how this is going to affect the launch of the new consoles, and in particular, the launch of the PlayStation 4, okay? So let's get into it. So, first of all, the big announcement that came out last week that everyone was, let's be honest, everyone was disappointed. Watch Dogs, okay? Watch Dogs, which has been pushed as it was going to be a launch title for the PS4 and the Xbox One, to the point where retailers, Amazon, GameStop were all selling pre-order bundles with Watch Dogs. Is like, this is the go-to game. This is why you want to buy the new consoles, is because it comes with Watch Dogs, all right? All of a sudden, they announced, no, it's not coming out for the console launch. It's not even coming out at the regular date it was going to come out for current-gen consoles. We're pushing the game into early 2014, all right? And this caused big controversy, because people were like, well, this is bullshit. You know, I only pre-ordered the PS4 to play Watch Dogs. So people were like, now what happens to my pre-order? Because I had a pre-order bundle that's a different SKU or item code, whatever the hell you want to call it, than the regular PS4. And so because of that, now you're like, am I even going to get a PS4? Is my order going to get canceled? And for a while, there was all this panic going on about what's going to happen regarding Watch Dogs and PS4 pre-order bundles, okay? Okay. The good news is, in most cases, the pre-orders have been fixed. Either your pre-order bundle has been downgraded to just a standard pre-order for the console. I actually heard some retailers were actually going the extra mile and we're going to offer a different game Like, okay, so Watch Dogs isn't coming out, maybe we'll slip in Killzone instead or something. So they are, the game stores and Amazon are trying to do the right thing and make sure that no one gets screwed out of getting a PS4 simply because the game that was supposed to be bundled with it got delayed. But now let's be honest here. Watch Dogs, for a lot of people, was the game, the go-to game that they were going to get the next-gen console to play on. Alright? So when you think about it, the PS4 comes out in North America 2 weeks before it comes out the rest of the world. North America was going to get Watch Dogs before Watch Dogs was going to come out on any other console on the PS4. So it was going to be an exclusive launch title for the PS4. Sure, it's third party, but that's a huge win. Stupid spider. That's a huge win for them to have that. Now, on the flip side of that, outside of North America, the Xbox One was actually going to have a worldwide release date. And what that meant was that for other countries outside of North America, Watch Dogs was going to actually come out for the Xbox One first before PS4. So for the Xbox One, that was kind of a big asset for them outside of North America. So depending on where you live, this was all a matter of perspective. But the bottom line is this: Watch Dogs was going to be one of the games that was going to push sales of the next-gen consoles. And now that it's been delayed, how is that going to affect things? Okay, we really have to be realistic here. Now, what I want to say, it was funny because when this was announced, I tweeted and I said, with no Watch Dogs, wow, that's a big blow to the PS4 launch library, because that was one of the big ones that, at least in North America, was going to be the exclusive that you could get only on PS4 before any other console. Well, guess what? It was simultaneously announced that the Ubisoft driving game The Crew was also being delayed until 2014. Now, that wasn't a big deal. I don't think many people were like going nuts for The Crew. We didn't even know when that was going to come out at all. But then, almost as if like it's a tidal wave now, like a day later, it was actually announced that Drive Club, the PS4 exclusive driving game that was heavily promoted at E3 and was even advertised as this was going to be the game that if you're a PS Plus purchaser and or subscriber, on launch day for PS4, you get the game for free. It's not that I think it's missing some maps and stuff, but you basically essentially get this game for free for being a PS Plus subscriber. And people are like, what? Now what happens with that? That's bullshit. You advertised heavily this was what we were getting on launch day, and now we don't get Watch Dogs, we don't get Drive Club. Like, what the fuck do we get? So Sony, again, trying to make up for this flub, kind of said, all right, well, it happened. Listen, we got this other game. It's a platformer. It's an indie game. We're going to give you that one for free. To which I think a lot of people are just like, I don't care. Like, I didn't want that game. A full-fledged, next-generation graphic driving game versus an indie platformer? Like, come on. You know, how can you even have that as an equivalent to give someone? So, right now, you know, it's pretty much kind of a an iffy situation when you really think about the PS4's launch window, all right, and the games that are now going to come out for it. Think of it, full-fledged games. You've got Knack, okay. You've got Killzone, okay. And then every other game, except for indie games, I'm not talking about indie games, but every other game is already cross-platform and has already been out on other consoles in a lot of cases. Like Assassin's Creed 4 is already going to be out for 3 weeks. Same thing with Battlefield 4, even though I know some people are waiting for the PS4, version of Battlefield 4 because it's supposed to have more players or whatever, and I understand that. If it does have more modes and more players, people will probably like it better. That's understood. But you're talking about a game that other people have already been playing for 3 weeks. You know what I mean? So really, what are the launch titles for PS4? The two biggest ones are out. And I think it's a center of controversy right now. Is PS4 had looked like at a really strong launch library, having the one-up, having the Watch Dogs in North America ahead of everyone else was a huge asset. And now it's like, I mean, I'll be honest with everyone. As you know, I said this year I'm getting both consoles. I'm going to do launch day like coverage of them. So now I'm going to play Knack. I'm going to play Killzone. I'm going to play whatever this free game is that Sony's going to give. And then I'm probably going to dabble in a couple indie games here and there. And I'm probably going to mess with the dashboard. And then what am I going to do? You know what I mean? Now, flip this over to the Xbox One. And no, I'm not an Xbox fanboy. I was heavily anti-Xbox earlier this year when they had all these anti-user policies. You heard my rant videos. So don't go on that kind of an angle out here. But look objectively at the launch lineup for Xbox One, all right? All the same cross-platform games as PS4, but they've also got Killer Instinct, and yes, I know there's controversy, there's only 6 characters, but we'll talk more about that as we approach it, but Killer Instinct, console-exclusive fighter. Rise, console-exclusive kind of action combat game. Dead Rising 3, the sequel to an extremely popular line of games, again console-exclusive. Crimson Dragon, which is actually the direct sequel to Panzer Dragoon, which hasn't been around for a long time, but used to be an insanely successful series. And Forza. So you've got 5 heavy-hitting console-exclusive games. Now, on the flip side, 0 to none, no indie games. I think the only game that's going to have is like War of Tanks and one other one. So if you're interested in that, Xbox One is pretty much off the table for you right now. But for a retail lineup, it's got 5 solid games. So for me, for that launch, I'm actually more excited gameplay-wise for that launch than I am for PS4. PS4, sure, I want to get my hands on the hardware. I'd like to dabble in a couple games in that week. Sure, I'll be playing NAC, I'll be playing Killzone playthroughs, but the launch for Xbox One seems to be more exciting to me now because there's just more to do. There's more interesting games. And I think it was a huge blow. Losing Watch Dogs and losing Drive Club are huge blows to PS4 to the point where it was kind of like every day you're getting a new announcement of another game getting delayed, and people started making jokes. Oh, well, guess what? Killzone's delayed till 2015. You know, they were saying stupid shit just to be trolls and dicks, but it was like an internet meme for a day or two that everything on PlayStation 4 is getting delayed. So it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen what's going to happen with the launches of these consoles, okay? By no means am I saying that, oh no, one's better than the other. We have no idea. We really don't. And obviously the real thing is, come next year, come 2014, that's going to be the definitive year for both of these consoles to see who has the better library, all right? We're too early. For just a launch, you can't really judge what's better than another, all right? And I fully understand that. But I'm just objectively looking at it and saying, wow, I think that's a major loss. I was actually very much looking forward to Drive Club. I was definitely looking forward to Watch Dogs. Maybe Watch Dogs kind of said, oops, our game is overshadowed by Grand Theft Auto 5. We should give it more time to polish it and make it better, rather than have it released and everyone just literally say, not as good as Grand Theft Auto 5. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. Drive Club baffles me because it seems like everything was on pace for it to be ready. They had it. I mean, why would you say it's going to be the game we're giving you for free on launch day if you didn't even know it was going to be ready? It makes no sense to me. But it is what it is. Okay. All right. So now, last but not least, before we get to the next segment, I would like to give special thanks to all of the viewers and fans who actually submitted fan art for my impending Batman Arkham Origins playthrough. And there's a gnat now flying above my head. Where's that spider? Go get this fucking gnat. Now it's not a fucking spider's dicking around in the corner when the gnat's flying in front of me during my podcast. All right, I want to say thank you to anyone who submitted fan art for my playthrough of Batman Arkham Origins. What I want to do now is take a minute to show you a quick montage trailer of this fan art. And this is actually what I'm going to use tonight and over the weekend when I do commercial breaks during my Batman Arkham Origins playthrough. So let's take a moment here. We'll take a look at it. Then we'll come back. We'll end this segment and then we'll take a break and go to the next. So. Okay, so again, special thanks to anyone who submitted fan art. Now, I know undoubtedly more people will. In fact, I think I already got another submission since I made that video. Feel free to keep submitting those to me, and I am still accepting them. At They Call Me DSP on Twitter, just tweet up the pic, and if I see it, I'll grab it. I'll add it to my montage probably tomorrow, sometime during the day. I'll try to update that montage to have more of those in there, okay? All right, so we're taking our first break of the night. Going to be gone for about 5 minutes. We're going to come back, and we're going to do Back in the Day. And we're going to go again through the history of fighting games. It's going to be a good one, so definitely stick around for it, okay? And if you're watching on Twitch TV, just stick around. It's going to be a short commercial break here. If you're watching on YouTube, just go to the timestamp in the description of the video. You can skip right ahead to the next segment without having to wait for this break, okay? Thanks a lot, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, everybody. Welcome back from break. This is segment 2 of Hate Live for October 24th, 2013. This is Back in the Day, the segment where I like to reminisce on my days growing up as a gamer, covering a wide variety of topics. But this week in particular, we're going to focus in on something near and dear to my heart, something that during my youth as I was growing up was a major focus. It really was my hobby for a lot of the time. Alongside being a gamer, I mean, I grew up with the Super NES, the Sega Genesis, moving into, say, consoles like the PlayStation and Nintendo 64. That was really the era where I was heavily into gaming, and I did that at home. But there's this dual life that I lived, where every Friday and Saturday night, I would have my dad, and then later on, of course, when I could drive, I would drive myself to the local video arcade, which went by many different names. It first started out as Spanky's Arcade, then it moved locations down the street, ended up calling itself Crazy 8's Arcade. And I actually forget now what the final name of the arcade was. I believe it changed it again at one point. And, you know, it was one of those, you know, it wasn't like a giant commercial venture. It was an independently owned store. It wasn't like a chain or anything like that. And it was kind of a hole in the wall. It had a couple pool tables, an ice hockey thing, 2 or 3 giant rings of arcade games that were kind of like back-to-back. Then you would have like classic arcade games up against the back wall. Had a little party room for kids who wanted to have birthday parties and stuff like that. Racing games that would usually have on the opposite wall so that there was some room for it. And this was really where I spent my Friday and Saturday nights when I was growing up as a younger adult. Let's put it that way. And of course later on, I evolved, and instead of going to this little local arcade, I ended up going to malls and the typical teen hangouts. But during this time, it was the burgeoning era of when fighting games were becoming popular. And I'll be completely honest with everyone, if it weren't for that resurgence in video arcades because of fighting games, I might not have been as heavy of a gamer as I was. I might not be doing this. What I'm doing right now today, I probably owe to the fact that I grew up during this period of time when fighting games became so popular that they completely reinvigorated the arcade scene. So what I want to do today, we're going to do another episode of Tales of Arcadia, where I'm going to relay to you my experiences regarding video arcades, in particular, the history of fighting games, as laid out here by this website, fightersgeneration.com. So I do want to give them a shout out because I looked online for timelines. They had a really good one here that basically lays out, the evolution of fighting games from start to finish. And it's really well done. And I'm just going to basically go through year to year and explain to you what each game was, what the reception was, what the climate was like at my local arcade for these games. And a lot of these, some of you will obviously know. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. A lot of these you might not, especially some of these lesser-known ones. You know, some of these SNK fighters, you may be like, I've never even heard of that before. What is that? So let's just get started. Let's just go right from the beginning. Okay? Right back to the beginning of Fighters, which was way back 1985. Now, I did not have the privilege of playing either of these games in arcades. From what I understand, these games were very primitive. They were fighting, but they weren't competitive head-to-head fighting. They were international karate and Yai-R Kung Fu. Yai-R Kung Fu in particular, I believe, ended up getting ported to the NES and became a pretty popular game. But really, the whole competitive fighting game scene began with a game called Street Fighter, and that game came out in 1987. Now, Street Fighter, I don't know if any of you have actually seen the game, okay? Just to show you, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this with my camcorder, but it had the kind of basic head-to-head setup as, say, Street Fighter 2, but it was very primitive, all right? First of all, you could only play as Ryu, and the only way that you could actually play as Ken is if you were on the player 2 side of the arcade cabinet, then you could be Ken. And they were the only 2 selectable characters. They were identical at the time. And the game did have special moves. You could do a Hadouken fireball, but the moves weren't consistent. And what I mean by that is, like, it would do the motion, which everyone knows the motion for a fireball now. It's down, down, forward, forward, plus punch. But you would do it and it wouldn't come out. And you'd be like, what the fuck happened? You'd be doing it again. You would literally have to like start mashing it out. And then finally, eventually, the character would do it. But it was weird because when he did this special move, it would almost like glitch the game. It would slow down. Things would go weird on the screen. The game had a Shoryuken, but the Shoryuken was crazy inconsistent with getting it to come out. If it did come out and it hit the opponent, it would do like 90% damage. It was absolutely ridiculous. So the game was basically only 2 buttons, punch and kick. The goal was to jump around and punch and kick the enemy until they died, and then mash out a random special move to try to get extra bonus damage. It was very, very primitive, okay? In fact, in some arcades, the way that it was laid out was that the punch and kick buttons were actually, they don't have a picture of the arcade machine here, I wish they did. They were giant red buttons, all right? They weren't typical size arcade buttons like today. Giant red glowing buttons that said punch and kick, and if you just tapped it lightly, he would do a light punch, and if you like throttled the fucking thing, he would do a heavy punch. So you had people who were literally in the arcade, and they was like, oh, I gotta do heavy attacks, and they go, boom, boom. They'd be smashing the machine with their palms. They'd go fists. They'd go pounding on the machine like this with their fists. That's like destroying. Because again, this was the Wild West of arcades, and no one knew what a fighting game was. People didn't even know they weren't supposed to do that. So you'd have things, people would destroy it on day one. They'd bust the fucking buttons apart, and it was pretty much a mess because, you know, no one knew what the hell it was. So really, fighting games did not come into their own until a long 4 years later, in 1991, with the United States domestic release of Street Fighter II, which just completely blew the lid off the whole scene, revolutionized. So many revolutionary things they did with this game. First of all, 8 selectable characters right out of the bat. 8? I could pick 8 completely different characters, and unlike Street Fighter 1, where both Ryu and Ken were identical, in this game, the characters were actually different. Sure, Ryu and Ken were kind of similar, but they had some differences in their moves. And then there were, 6 other completely different characters that played insanely differently. The Beast Man from Brazil, the Indian yoga master who could stretch his limbs like freaking Mr. Fantastic. You had a Chinese woman who could do crazy quick kicks and flips and all kinds of stuff. An American Air Force guy who could throw fucking sonic waves out of his head and do crazy backflips. Zangief, the giant bear wrestler from Russia. E. Honda, the huge sumo wrestler who could actually fly his head forward and do a sumo headbutt and have a 100-hand slap. I mean, it was just unprecedented. It was unprecedented that you have that much selection in a game. In addition to that, 6 buttons. 6 buttons. So 3 punches and 3 kicks. But not only just attacks, now for the first time, the special moves were intentional. It wasn't like you were just mashing and it would come out. If you memorized the input, you could always get that special move. Dizzies, throws, combos. That's right, actual intentional combos where you could land one hit and then combo it into another hit and the opponent could do nothing about it if the first hit connected. The game it added so many new things that games had not done before. And it's funny because the fundamentals of every fighting game were invented in Street Fighter II when you really think about it. Now, at the time, Street Fighter II was absolutely insanely huge. There were arcades where primarily before Street Fighter II, they would have a semi-busy night. People would be going in. They would play those beat-em-up games like Fatal Fury, not Fatal Fury, Final Fight. They'd be playing the gun shooter games, the racing games. They'd be playing, like The Simpsons and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat-em-up games. When Street Fighter II came out, there were fucking lines to play games. Like, there would be a line of 5 to 10 people minimum on each Street Fighter II cabinet when that game came out. That's how crazy. Like, people were like, I can't believe it. The graphics are amazing. The sound is great. The gameplay is like nothing I've ever seen before. I've never seen this. I definitely can't play this at home. And look at it. It became a cultural phenomenon that people from all around would come to an arcade, people from all walks of life, to just stand there and play this game. It was just nuts. People couldn't believe. My dad couldn't believe it. He's like, I can't believe it. I went to the arcade, and Philip, because that's what he calls me, Philip, he played a 20-year-old kid, a teenager, a guy in his 30s who just got off from his job. You could tell because he walked in with his mechanic's outfit still on. He fought Hispanic kids, he fought black guys, he fought white guys, he fought Asian kids, and none of them were like, it wasn't like they hated each other and they wanted to kill each other. They just loved the game so much, they all came together to play this game. And it was like, what the fuck have we gotten? Like, what did Capcom stumble upon with Street Fighter 2? And that it exploded from there. From that time forward, it completely exploded when it came to the fighting game scene, because basically all the other companies looked at it and they said, oh shit, Capcom really got onto something here. We got to jump on that opportunity right fucking now. And boy did they ever, which is about what we're about to start talking about, okay? Okay, so, incidentally, Street Fighter 2, if I remember correctly, came out in January or February of 1991. Later on that year, the rival of Capcom was a really huge arcade game maker at the time. That was what they were known for. Their rival was called SNK. SNK also made similar shoot-em-ups, different kinds of games, beat-em-ups for arcades. They said, oh man, you know, Capcom really came onto something with this head-to-head competitive kind of a game. Instead of you just playing the computer, these people want to play each other. Let's make a game like that. And they did. And the game was called Fatal Fury. Okay? Now, Fatal Fury was very different from Street Fighter 2. Let me explain. First of all, major change right here. If I remember correctly, the original Fatal Fury only had 3 playable characters. Terry Bogard, Andy Bogard, and Joe Higashi. Alright? So it was like, what now? It's like they're going back to the old formula. Instead of these 8, there's only 3. It didn't make sense, right? Now, there were other characters in the game, but you couldn't play as them. You could play against them in like the tournament mode or whatever, but you only had like 2 or 3 selectable characters for competitive play. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I'm trying to remember back a long way, so please forgive me if I'm wrong and there's a couple more characters in the game. But I know it was more limited than Street Fighter 2 for sure. The gameplay, SNK cabinets only had 4 buttons. So right off the bat, you knew you weren't going to be able to do as much as you could do in Street Fighter 2. So it was very limited. You had a punch button, I think it was a kick button, like a heavy attack button, and then a 4th button that you could use to do different stuff. And then the other thing is that, like I said, with Street Fighter, it introduced combos. So you do a jumping kick. If it lands, you can now do a punch on the ground and maybe even combo that into a special move, 3-hit combo. It wasn't like that in Fatal Fury. In Fatal Fury, it was like they had special moves. It was like, oh, fireball. You would punch the ground and a fireball would erupt. If it hit you, it would like knock you down. You'd fall on your ass. So it wasn't like you could do jumping attack into like a fireball. It was like if you hit him once, the guy flies back. So it was more of like strategy of how do I get one hit in here or there instead of how do I really strategize to get this big combo in. So it was really a different animal from Street Fighter. It really was. It was a different style of game. Even though it was still the head-to-head combat, it was different. It wasn't as well received in the United States. And in Japan, it did pretty well. But Street Fighter 2 pretty much blew it out of the water. And then 1992 was the year where really stuff took off, okay? So capitalizing on the success of Street Fighter and the spin-off success of Fatal Fury, in 1992... both SNK and Capcom introduced new installments of the same games and plus new lines, okay? So, Capcom came out with Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition in early 1991. Now, what this was a direct response from Capcom to the fans who'd been playing Street Fighter all along, saying, we want improvements. This game is limited. It's great, don't get us wrong. You added a ton of fun stuff, but there's things that we want fixed. Number one, there's no ability for 2 people to pick the same character. So if I picked Guile, and then the player 2 wanted to pick Guile, he couldn't. That was it. One person got him. That was it. There was no mirror matches back then. So they said, we want that ability that both players can pick the same character. Alright? Number 2, you have 4 boss characters in the game. There was the Boxer, who is called different things depending on where you live in the world. There was the Spanish Ninja, who again called different things. There was Sagat, who was actually the boss of Street Fighter 1, who was the second to last boss in Street Fighter 2, and then there was Bison or Vega, whatever you want to call him, the leader of the Shadaloo crime syndicate, who was the final guy in the game. They were awesome characters, but they weren't playable in Street Fighter 2, so people wanted to play as them. So Capcom directly listened, made all 4 of those characters playable now. In addition, Capcom did some tweaks. They realized there were some things in the original Street Fighter II that were really overpowered and or abusable, and so they tweaked them so that they were taken out. Some glitches as well. There were some glitches in characters using things where they would use the handcuff glitch where you're stuck and you can't move, and there was some really game-abusing bugs that they fixed in Champion Edition. And for the most part, people liked it. However, of course, this is what happens, and this was the beginning of the slippery slope of Capcom releasing tweak after tweak after tweak for the same game. Unfortunately, because they added changes, it led to new overpowered stuff. So, okay, maybe you can't do that touch of death combo with Ryu anymore, but now M. Bison has the ability to do psycho torpedoes back and forth across the screen like this, and if you do it at a certain timing, it would be ambiguous. You wouldn't know how it was going to hit you, and it was a 50-50 shot that you got to block. And if you didn't block it, it knocked you down, and Bison immediately got a chance to do the same 50-50 mix-up again. And that wasn't the only thing. There were like 2 or 3 really abusive strategies in Street Fighter II Champion Edition where Capcom again was prompted, and they were saying, oh man, that's really abusive too. We got to do something else to improve it. But also, we got to do something to keep gamers hooked. Because we realize now that if we don't give them constant improvements, that people are going to stop going to video arcades to play these games. Keep in mind, back then, it wasn't like today. Today, you buy a game for $60 and you own it. So obviously, you're going to go back to it time after time again because it's right there in front of you. Back then, it was like you had to take the time to physically get your ass to the arcade to use your hard-earned money every time. It wasn't like you had a one-time purchase. You were constantly getting more money, put the quarters in the machine, and play the game. They needed something to hook the people so they would keep coming back. And so Capcom began their series of every year, even sometimes every few months, we're going to do an update to the game to try to keep players hooked, okay? So, again, listening to the feedback of the people playing Champion Edition, by the end of the year, that's right, not even a year had passed, Capcom released Street Fighter II Turbo, or what they actually called it in certain territories was Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting. Now, what this did, it had a couple different things. First of all, it significantly sped up the game. The game went from a slower paced kind of a back and forth style to, wow, this game can be lightning fast at times, okay? So the game became more about hand-eye coordination because you had to have better reactions because the game ran at a faster pace, all right? Number 2, the game did less damage. So what I mean by that is, in the first 2 versions of Street Fighter II, everything did a ton of damage. You could hit a guy 3 times, he's dizzy, hit him again, he's dead, game over. They decided that was too much. Let's try to tone it down. Let's make every move in the game do less damage to make the rounds last a little bit longer. So they did that. And then what they did, they pretty much gave almost every single character a special move, a new one, or they tweaked it so that one of their existing special moves could either be used in the air or would be a little bit better. All right. So, for example, Blanka now got an upwards moving ball rather than just his vertical move, or I'm sorry, his horizontal moving ball. Ryu and Ken could now do their hurricane kicks in midair, leading to extra combo ability and extra tricks and stuff like that. So, it was adding more variables to the same game. Yes, it was still the same sprites, it was still the same music, but it was enough for people to say, yeah, this is different. I want to go back to the arcades. I want to keep playing Street Fighter II. Now, this was the year that there was some major competition for Street Fighter II for the very first time, all right? First of all, we talked about SNK. Let's talk about them again. After the success of Fatal Fury, they said, we're going to go all out, man. We saw how successful Street Fighter II is. We're going to go absolutely all out now. And so they went ahead and they made a sequel, Fatal Fury 2. Fatal Fury 2 adding in a lot of new things, including a ton of new characters who you could actually play as in the Versus mode. It actually added in a behind screen and forward screen shifting. There were 2 planes where you could fight, and that was what the 4th button did. It shifted you between the planes, so you could like throw fireball, then go behind them and try to sneak up behind them and try to come across and do these crazy like crossover combos. Combos are still very limited, but the game was, you could tell they were putting in more effort. They were trying to make it similar to Street Fighter 2. Not as good as Street Fighter 2 still, I don't think, but they were trying to go in the same direction as Street Fighter 2, and it was quite interesting, the shifting angles that the game had. Then there was this game, a new series that they started called Art of Fighting. Now, Art of Fighting was interesting because, again, similarly to Street Fighter 2. I'm sorry, similarly to Fatal Fury, it was very different from Street Fighter 2. This game had a unique camera angle where the camera was very close to the characters. It was like very almost like the guy was in their face. He was like down here looking up at the fight rather than it being a wide panned out angle. And during the course of the fighting, as you would hit the people, the camera would zoom in and then zoom out. And it was actually a thing that they were advertising. Oh, it's the unique dynamic cinematic camera angles or whatever, okay? But again, similar to Fatal Fury, it wasn't really focused too much on combos. It was focused more on hitting one or two moves here or there, maybe one reversal move. If I remember correctly, and you can correct me on this if you need to, but I'm almost positive that Art of Fighting was the first fighting game to have super moves. And I could be wrong. It might have been Fatal Fury 2, I'm not sure. But before Street Fighter, that's right, before Street Fighter ever had them, the SNK games actually had super moves. And so there was this situation where if you had very low health, and you had built up these special abilities during the round, at the end of the round, you could do this special button input, and your character would dash forward, and do, if it connected, would do this crazy combo, like 100 hits. You go, going nuts, and it would do insane damage. So it was like, even though you were about to lose, you had a one desperate chance to come back. And this was revolutionary because games didn't have that. It was all like, well, if that guy's dominating you the whole round, you're pretty much fucked. Now it was like, wow, there's a move that's a desperation move that can allow you to come back and still win. And, yeah, that was the first game that had anything like that, okay? That game kind of had mixed reception because it was very limited in what it was. It was a slow-paced game. Later on, the Art of Fighting games got more similar to Fatal Fury and then eventually Street Fighter, and they did a lot better. A game that a lot of people said, this was the first game that I think a lot of people started saying, now this is a ripoff of Street Fighter 2, alright? It was called World Heroes. Similarly to Street Fighter 2, the game had a cast that was varied. It was, I think it was 8 people, again, similar to Street Fighter 2. 2 characters were very similar, kind of like Ryu and Ken, but they did have some differences between them. Every character was from a different place in the world, just like Street Fighter 2. The difference here is that these characters were supposed to be famous characters from history. So it was like, you know, Rasputin versus some famous guy from Japan versus some famous fighter from who knows, you know, all different walks of life in different places in the world. And very similar to Street Fighter, it was about spacing, it was about throwing special moves that were consistent. I believe the game did have combos similar to Street Fighter 2. So SNK really branched out that year in 1992 and tried to really be a serious competitor with Street Fighter 2 by releasing 3 games in 1 year. Also that year, at least for American audiences, came out the first real competitor to Street Fighter 2 in the form of Mortal Kombat. Now, Mortal Kombat, extremely controversial, especially depending on who you talk to about it, because unlike Street Fighter 2, where it was like, okay, this game is kind of a little bit cartoony, it's more about the gameplay, Mortal Kombat was about the brutality of it all. Not to say that the gameplay was horrible, it wasn't great, but it wasn't, you know, really terrible, but it really was about the gore. This was the first game you could rip a guy's fucking heart out with a fatality, you could rip his arms off, you could rip his head and his spine out of his body. There was blood. Every time you uppercut someone, an amazing amount of blood squirted out of him. Scorpion would spear you with his spear. Blood, big spurt of blood comes out of his body. And unlike these other games that were using hand-drawn 2D graphics, Mortal Kombat actually used digitized photos of actors. So a guy who actually dressed up like the character, did the moves, ho 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 ho, whatever. They would take the picture, and that would be the frame of animation for the game, like this. And it was kind of interesting because it was kind of realistic. And, of course, there was Sonya. She was so hot in the game. She was the female character. It's like, oh, my God. For the first time, this teenage boy has seen a digitized woman. He's popped a boner during the fucking game. It's like, come on, man. But it was pretty crazy. And then, again, some of the cool things that they added in. Voice acting. Where, you know, round 1, fight. And he would uppercut the guy, and the guy would pop up and go, Toasty! You know, there were certain things of Mortal Kombat that were done really well. Now, Mortal Kombat 1 was very slow-paced, had very few combos, and actually a lot of people say it's the most broken Mortal Kombat ever made. It was basically their first attempt. Really, what a lot of people, and I honestly have to say this, quite honestly, the reason Mortal Kombat 1 caught on was because of the gore. I'm just going to say that. If it didn't have the gore factor to it, I don't think it would have been as popular as it ever did. I don't think it would have turned into the popular series that it did. Because really, Mortal Kombat 1 was a very bare-bones, kind of crappy fighter. It wasn't that good competitively. Even though there were, you know, at that point, everyone was trying to make their games competitive. It really wasn't balanced well at all. And, you know, it was a pretty one-sided game if you knew what you were doing. And so because of that, I really feel that it was the gore factor that kept it going. Now, of course, things changed completely with further iterations of Mortal Kombat where the gameplay advanced significantly and it became a very tournament-worthy game, but I really feel that first iteration wasn't so good. And in my local arcades, just to give you guys an idea, Street Fighter 2 was huge at this point. Street Fighter 2, everyone played it. That was the game. Everyone had their quarters up. Everyone was waiting to play it all night, okay? The SNK games, people played them, but they weren't, like, super popular. One of the reasons, I think, is because actually, what a lot of people don't know, the SNK arcade games were very different from the other ones. They were actually multi-game stand-up units. So that one game could have Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and World Heroes in it. And if you want to play one of them, okay, so you're playing it, well, obviously that means someone can't play one of the other games. So really, you'd be at the mercy of whatever game someone was playing that day. If they're still on the cabinet playing, you have to play that until they get off. If everyone gets off, now you can reset it and go to a different game. So a lot of arcades said, oh, I can get 3 games in one cabinet. That's a money saver for me. But what they didn't realize is that there might have been other people who wanted to play a different game on that cabinet and couldn't play it because 2 people were already playing, you know, one of the other 2 games. So a lot of arcades didn't get multiple SNK cabinets, and my arcade was actually one of them. We only had one SNK cabinet, so if one person was playing one game, you were kind of boned if that wasn't the one you wanted to play. So SNK games at this point weren't super popular in my arcade. Mortal Kombat, when it came out, was very white hot. People were like, wow, look at the gore, look at the digitized graphics. But what I can tell you is this. Unlike Street Fighter 2, after just a few short months, the popularity died out. I think people realized that's not as good. The gameplay isn't as good as Street Fighter. And once the gimmicks are done, once you've seen every fatality, you've seen the ending of the game, okay, I really don't want to play that anymore. And what happened was after, say, 6 to 7 months, no one was playing Mortal Kombat anymore. It was all back to Street Fighter, especially with the release of Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Hyper Fighting, whatever you want to call it. People were back into Street Fighter again. So that led to the next year, which 1993, which was a very interesting year because this was the year of kind of like, I would almost say, oversaturation. And what I mean by that is that this year, just looking, it was the first year where you had so much competition for these fighting games that it started to dilute. It started to seep into each other, and people were kind of confused as to what they wanted to play anymore, okay? So, without going into major detail of every game, I'm just going to read you the list of games released in 1993. And there's actually one I believe they left out that I'm going to throw in there, okay? Eternal Champions, Fatal Fury Special, okay, which was basically a upgraded version of Fatal Fury 2, Fighter's History, Mortal Kombat 2, Samurai Showdown, Super Street Fighter 2, Virtua Fighter, and World Heroes 2. So, I will literally tell you which games were the knockoffs. Fighter's History was a knockoff of Street Fighter 2. It was actually made by not by any major company, but I believe, I forget exactly who it was. It was Toei or Tecmo. I can't remember exactly who it was that made it. But basically, it was the same kind of premise as Street Fighter and World Heroes. Okay, here are fighters from all around the world. They've come together to have a tournament and see who the best is. It's the one-on-one fighting. There's special moves. There's the basic combos. It was different, though. It wasn't like they stole characters, or it was like they stole the idea. You could tell they put effort into it, but it was so cheesy. Some of the voice acting, I remember some of the characters would go, "Ego, yo, kick!" And one guy goes, "Real kick!" And another guy would throw a fucking rose. He'd go, "How about a rose?" It was weird. There were some weird characters in that game. One guy, he had like a multi-hit move. He'd go, "Yo, yo, 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 yo." Like, oh my god. So here you are, you're in the arcade, you're just trying to... Data East, by the way, people are saying in the stream chat. Yes, it was made by Data East. You'd be in the arcade trying to play Street Fighter, and all you would fucking hear is, "Hey, go, how about a rose? How about a rose?" It was so loud. You were like, motherfucker, like, what the fuck were they thinking when they made the sound effects for this game? And it was funny because Capcom actually launched a lawsuit against Data East and said, your game is ours. It's the same exact premise as Street Fighter, except you made different characters for it. But the lawsuit didn't go through. The judge felt that there was enough diversity between the two games to say that Data East didn't steal directly. Sure, maybe it was like the spiritual successor. They took the idea, but it wasn't a copy enough for them to win in like a copyright court or law or anything like that, okay? Eternal Champions was a combination between, say, Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. It was more on the gory and adult side. Fatal Fury Special was just another version of Fatal Fury with super moves. They actually added in super moves. Mortal Kombat 2, way better than Mortal Kombat 1, both graphics-wise and gameplay-wise. Mortal Kombat 2 was the first game in the series deemed worthy to have a nationals, like a national championships. It was heavily played throughout the entire country. I'm actually friends with Jason Wilson, who ended up being the champion at the time, for finding out this really, really high-level abusive strategy with Jax. But again, more gore, more characters. There was a lot more characters, but there was more gore. It was this more adult-oriented game. Would the game have succeeded without the gore? I don't know. Samurai Showdown was a new game from SNK with samurais using weapons. So here we go. They're revolutionizing. We're going to add in weapons, and the weapons are going to actually cause major damage to your opponents. At the same time, you have the ability to lose the weapon, and now you're very weak. You have to try to get your weapon back. In addition to that, there was gore. You could actually chop your opponents in half if you got like a critical hit. So the game was very unique. It actually really did go on a different vein than other fighting games because it had weapons in it. Super Street Fighter 2. If you can believe it, out of all the versions of Street Fighter 2, there was one that was very poorly received, and it was Super Street Fighter 2. Now, the reason that Super Street Fighter 2 was poorly received was a couple reasons, all right? Number one, once again, the game used the exact same sprites, okay? It basically just did palette swaps for most of the original 8 to 12 characters. The game did add in 4 new characters, absolutely, but what they did, I don't know why they did this, they went a step backward and they made the game slower again. So with hyper fighting, you got faster and people got used to this fast-paced gameplay. They took it away and went slower again, and people were kind of scratching their heads saying, why did they make the game so slow again? It doesn't seem to make any sense. Why would you take 2 steps forward and take a step back? Okay? In addition to that, other games now were having these kind of cool gimmicks, desperation moves, super moves, and Street Fighter didn't have it yet. And people were like, that's lacking. Why is Street Fighter kind of almost behind the times now? We feel like maybe they are falling behind, okay? Okay? Up next was Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter was the very first 3D fighting game. What I mean by that is it wasn't 2D art or digitized graphics. It was actually 3D polygons. The game looked like shit. And even for the time, the game looked like shit. Like, people literally went in and said, wow, it's a 3D fighting game. Why does it look like block characters are fucking punching each other? So, I really... the game itself was interesting. Characters could do giant moves that did, like, a ton of damage. It was moving on a 3D plane for the first time. Instead of being stationary on a horizontal plane, you could actually move in and out of the 3D plane. If you needed to move backwards or forwards, you could do so. But yeah, it was just really weird looking. And I really think that the look of the game turned people off to it because it just looked so primitive. It wasn't until like Virtua Fighter 2 and 3 that the game started looking really smart and the graphics were updated for the times, and people were like, okay, this is something passable. Virtua Fighter 1, at least where I was panned. Like, people didn't like it at all. And I think the arcade owner was kind of pissed because it was, you know, he probably bought all this new hardware to run it, and no one really played it because the game looked so odd. It was very bizarre. And then World Heroes 2, just a direct sequel to World Heroes. You know what that means. Basically, we're only up to 1994. And as you can see, we're going to talk about all these games. But at this point, 1994, we haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, 95, 96, 97, 98, up to 2000. I think this is going to be a multi-parter for back in the day, where I'm going to probably talk about 1994, and then on another episode of Hate Live, we're going to go further into it, into the later games, okay? Now, this is interesting because at this point, since Mortal Kombat now had the gore factor and had this more advanced gameplay, at this point, okay, at this point, kind of Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat were the two big ones. Street Fighter had the original core gameplay. They were the ones who innovated in the beginning. Mortal Kombat now had the digitized graphics, the gore, and the gameplay that was on par with Street Fighter. Who's the best one? And there really was this era of like these two different ways of thought. A lot of people were like, well, Street Fighter's more for the younger audience. Mortal Kombat's more for the adult audience because it's gory, all right? The other people were like, now, wait a minute. No, if you actually hardcore analyze the game engines of each one, Street Fighter is way more complex. It's got touch of death combos. It's got crossovers. It's got unblockable setups. It's got crazy throw setups. It's got this. It's got that. Mortal Kombat has some of that, but not as much. But you could tell that they focused more on appearances than anything else in Mortal Kombat. It's like I said, Street Fighter 2 still had the same sprites for the original 8 to 12 characters. Mortal Kombat 2 had completely new characters, new digitized sprites, and new story and everything. So it was really two schools of thought. And both games got heavy play. They did. Both games in my local arcade got very heavy play. You know, it was like they were kind of head-to-head for a while. 1994, things went in a different direction because Mortal Kombat didn't get a sequel in 1994. And a lot of people were like kind of upset about that. Like, where is Mortal Kombat 3? Why isn't it coming out? And then it was rumored that it would finally come out the next year, 1995, which it did, by the way. And because it didn't come out in 1994, it seemed like Capcom took this opportunity to kind of jump ahead with a few new ventures. All right, in 1994, Capcom made Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, but they also made the beginning of Darkstalkers launched that year. In addition to that, they also released X-Men Children of the Atom. That's right, the cartoony comic book style game that invented the Super Jump. All right, so things were changing for Capcom. They were dabbling in some different areas. They said, gee, maybe we could not just focus on Street Fighter. We can have these new series that have core elements from Street Fighter, but we can venture out with the new things and see in what directions they go. And hey, let's face it, Darkstalkers ended up being a successful series in the long run, and X-Men spurned an entire generation of the Versus games, which had super jumps and comic-y, super overblown, flashy things in them, and, you know, leads all the way to today with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, okay? Some other things that came out that year, Aggressors of Dark Combat. I never played that, so I can't tell you what that is. I don't even know what that is. Battle Arena Toshinden, another 3D title that looked way better than Virtua Fighter did. Actually got a home port on the PS1 that looked just as good as the arcade version. All right. Fighter's History Dynamite, which is very similar to how Street Fighter 2 had, Champion Edition and Turbo and Super, and now Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Well, Fighter's History kind of did the same thing. They added in some tweaks, some better things, some better gameplay, and they made Fighter's History Dynamite, which is just an expansion for Fighter's History to try to extend the life of the game. Killer Instinct. Now, this was huge. Killer Instinct was basically a game that they tried to say it was 3D. It wasn't 3D. What it did, it put 2D sprites in a 3D arena. So you'd be fighting on a rooftop of a building that was a giant square, and as you fought, the square would rotate, all right? And at the end of the round, you could actually uppercut the opponent off the building as like a fatality if they were close to the end of the edge of the building, which was a neat thing. But the sprites were 2D, but they were 2D pictures of 3D rendered characters. The 2D sprites looked great, let's put it that way. It was a combination of cartoony with 3D rendering. People bought it up and ate it up. And for the very first time, this game had auto combos. Now, what this meant was that if you landed a move and you pressed an appropriate button after the move, the game would automatically do a combo for you without you hitting the button multiple times. So you could do a special move and then tap light kick, and it would hit and then go boom, 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 3 more hits, even though you only tapped light kick once. So people have learned these different combinations. There were combo enders. You could do a special move as the end of a combo, and it would vary how the special move came out, the properties of the special move. The game had super moves. The game had ultra combos, where at the end of the round, if they're about to die, you could do a gigantic auto combo with your character. There were glitches that led to crazy, insane juggles. Killer Instinct was an animal of its own. It was very different from the other games out at the time, and eventually it was funny because the game was intended to be this very combo-heavy experience, but when it came down to it, there were these things called combo breakers, which is if you had a a super bar stored up, if someone was hitting you with a big auto combo and you knew what they were doing, you could do a reversal move that would break you out of the combo. And what ended up happening was that people who got top level at the game knew all the combo breakers. So every time you hit them, combo breaker, and you would never be able to do damage to them. And the game ended up at high levels becoming like Street Fighter. It really did. It was like one hit special move instead of using any of the auto combos, because everyone knew how to break out of them after the game got to that higher level. And it was actually funny, because at the time the Killer Instinct came out, it was open for debate. Oh my god, is every game going to be like this now? Is every game going to have giant flashy combos? Is every game going to have 3D rendered graphics? And it wasn't like that at all. Most games stuck to the 2D arena. Although some games did move fully into 3D, which we'll talk about when we get to them. But it was kind of funny. There was this crazy movement. Wow, this is the future. And then it kind of didn't go there. Alright. Art of Fighting had a sequel. Art of Fighting 2. King of Fighters 94. Now, this was really the beginning of the burgeoning era of SNK in fighting games. What this game did, it took characters from the popular series Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting and combined them with a completely new cast of characters that became iconic in the fighting game universe and actually became some of the like biggest hit characters ever, like Kyo Kusanagi. I'm trying to remember... Iori, I remember him, and, you know, there's just so many iconic characters that over the years came out of the King of Fighters series, plus it combined characters from other SNK games. So, for example, there was this game called Ikari Warriors, where all it was two guys running around shooting. It was a shooter where you shot tanks and stuff and threw grenades. They took those characters from Ikari Warriors and put them as fighters in the King of Fighters. So it was kind of this interesting mishmash of characters from different SNK games put together, but for the first time it had these crazy new things, such as a dodge. If someone went to attack you, you would press two buttons and just go, huh, and kind of sidestep, and their attack would go right through you. It was absolutely hilarious. People would charge up their super and throw it, and you just go, huh, and it would go right by you, like, haha, you dodged the super. You could also charge up your super meter by holding down two buttons. It was the first game to introduce you're consciously charging the super meter rather than attacking or charging it through attacking or being hit. It also was a 3-on-3 game system. That's right, you had a team of 3 characters versus a team of 3 characters. It wasn't just one-on-one like all other fighting games had done up to that time. Primal Rage. Wow, this was a weird one. A game with digitized dinosaurs ripping each other to shreds, very gory, but in addition to that, they had nasty-ass fatalities. They had a fatality where a monkey, a giant King Kong-like monkey, would go like this, rip out his dick, and piss on your dead corpse. He'd piss on your face. There was one where this venomous dinosaur would spit on you, and all your flesh would eat off the bones. It was just pretty irreverent, alright? It was, for the time. And actually, it got a lot of flack, just like Mortal Kombat for being gory. It got a lot of flack. This game also got a lot of flack. They're like, why do you have to have, the guys pissing and shitting on each other? Why is that needed in a fighting game? You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't it just be a straightforward fighting game? This was the beginning of the era where really there was this controversy, and some of the senators in the U.S. started going after games, saying they were too violent for our kids, and we need a ratings board, and we need all this because these games are getting too out of hand. All right. Samurai Showdown 2. Samurai Showdown had a sequel. Tekken. The very first Tekken was released in 1994. And again, kind of put Virtua Fighter to shame, because even though the graphics were very basic, they were way better than Virtua Fighters. Now, Tekken was unique because it actually played similar to Street Fighter, but it had some variation. The jumping, for example, jumping was extremely limited in this game. When you jump, you almost land immediately, so it wasn't really like you do a jump and attack leading to a combo. But it was interesting that was the year that the very first Tekken came out. World Heroes 2 Jet, which was just like I said, with Street Fighter 2, oh, let's just get another expansion to keep the length of the game alive, and it had like an extra character and some extra things added in there. And that was it. That was 1994. Another jam-packed year full of fighting games. And and that's where I'm going to end it for today. I mean, I'll be honest. Take a look at 1995 compared to 94. Just look at how many more games were released in 1995. So, on a future edition of Hate Live, I don't want to definitely say that it's going to be this week coming up, because this week coming up, I don't even know if I'm going to do a Hate Live, because I've got so much going on with these new releases of games. However, at some point on Hate Live, we will resume Tales of Arcadia, the history of fighting games. We will go through them even further into the future, and talk about how they evolved and the unique things about them, okay? All right, so that is it for Back in the Day, Tales of Arcadia. We will resume at a future Hate Live. Right now I'm going to take a short break. So if you're watching on stream, please hang in there. I'll be right back after a few short commercials. Then we're going to do the live Q&A. So by the way, this is your last chance to submit a question. If you want to get a chance to have your question answered on the podcast, you must submit it to the raffle right now, okay? And then if you're watching this on YouTube, just take a look at the timestamp in the description of the video and jump forward for the final section of the podcast. So thanks a lot, everyone. I'll be back in a few short minutes. Stick around. I'll see you then. Okay, everyone, welcome to the final segment of Hate Live. It's going to be about 15 minutes of Q&A here. And we're going to wrap it up as I get ready to head out to GameStop to pick up Batman Arkham Origins with the midnight release, okay? However, as I promised earlier in the podcast, right now, one Ooh, that's disgusting. One lucky viewer is about to win a copy of Batman Arkham City for North America. And I apologize the code isn't valid anywhere else, but I'm about to give it away. So get ready, everyone. The code is, here we go, 4B8B2-3JWT4-89Y2X-JT7H3-X2K8T. Now, if you're on YouTube, don't even bother. Someone's already going to win it by the time you see this. If you're on the stream, you have a chance to win, okay? And it's too bad that, you know, almost 100 people dropped off because they were so impatient they couldn't wait for a 3-minute break so I could go take a piss. Now they lost their chance to win the game. Boo-hoo. I'll once again read that code just in case people were not ready, all right? The code is 4B8B2-3JWT4-89Y2X-JT7H3-X2K8T. Why am I giving this away? Because I can, and because I have no need for it, and I want to give back to my viewers and my fans. That's why. It's that simple. There was no way that I got anything positive out of that. I just felt like doing something nice for you guys, okay? All right. So, that being said, if we could now go subscriber-only mode in the chat, and we could start drawing questions, I would appreciate it, please, mods. All right, they just closed the raffle. Very good. Let's get the show on the road. Damn, it's taking a while. I guess the stream's actually delayed more than 4 seconds for some reason tonight. I apologize for that. All right, here we go. First question. What is your... What a dick. From Bit Crusher. He says, what is your favorite Chrome plugin? Mine is Adblock. I actually don't use plugins in browsers. I don't fuck around with it. The only one I used to use a long time ago, now this really, you don't need it anymore because it comes built in with everything now, but it used to be Pop-Up Blocker because every website you went to had pop-up spam ads in your face and it got out of hand. Some of them had pop-ups that you couldn't even close. That's how bad it was. They did it on purpose to try to give you spamware, adware, and viruses and shit. But no, I don't use crap browser plugins, and sir, you are a dick for asking that question. Thank you. All right, next question. From Malfian, he says, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? I don't think about that for a second, because I'm trying to think. When I was growing up, I always liked a chocolate. If you want chocolate, strawberry, vanilla, I'm always going to go for chocolate. I'm a chocolate lover, okay? If you're talking now the gourmet ice creams, you know what I mean? I remember when I was younger, I used to like, there was this one that had like fudge brownies in it, chocolate fudge brownie. Oh, that was so good. Obviously, it's horrible for you. Another one that I became a fan of was mint chocolate chip or mint ripple, where it's like the white, supposed to be like, I guess, vanilla bean, but it has a mint added to it, so it tastes like mint. I have not really, especially recently, I mean, I'm an adult now, how often do I eat ice cream? So I don't think I've eaten ice cream in the past year. If I had, it was like a random dessert I had somewhere. But yeah, those would probably be my choices for ice cream. Okay, there you go. Trying to take these silly questions seriously. Next question is from, it scrolled off. Next question is from, oh no, I went too far. Hold on, shit. From C. Barrett 303, he says, what was your favorite PS1 fighting game? Ooh. PS1 fighting game. And that's a tough question. The reason I think that's a tough question, PS1 had a lot of fighting games. You went from, you know, Tekken 1 and Tekken 2. I think it even had, if I'm remembering correctly, it had Tekken 3 on PS1, or was that that PlayStation 2? I think it was PS1 had Tekken 3, and that's a really good fighter. At the same time, it had Street Fighter Alpha. It had Battle Arena Toshinden 1, 2, and 3, of which I liked a lot. Damn, that is a really difficult question for me to answer because there were so many. As you could see from today's Back in the Day segment, there were so many fighting games, especially during that PS1 era, which we didn't get to yet, but you'll see once we get to that. There were so many different fighting games at the time that they were so differentiated from each other. It was hard. They were like almost genres of fighting games. It was hard to determine which was the best. So I can't really answer that one. I will tell you though, Tekken 3. Tekken 3 was the first Tekken that I learned every single character. I knew everything about the game. I could pretty much pull off every combination, every difficult combo. I knew everything about it. I was a tournament winner. I actually won the one major tournament that was held in this part of Connecticut. And I loved it, and I played the hell out of it on PS1. So maybe that's my answer. There you go. All right. Let's see here. Next question is from Ikuki. She says, will you... Well, why did I say she? I just assumed because it sounds like a feminine name that it's a chick. It might not be. That was very rude of me. I apologize. Will you consider playing free PC games on some downtime? Well, first she says downtown. Some downtown. I don't know what he means. Free PC games. What does that mean? You mean free to play? There's a ton of free-to-play games. Like that question, unfortunately, is not specific enough for me to answer. If you had a specific game or two you wanted to mention, then maybe I could say if I'm interested in it. But would I play a free-to-play game? Sure, but it needs to pique my interest. And again, I need to have time between other things I'm doing to play it. Okay? Next question, please. Uh-oh. We asked to draw, and nothing's drawing. What's going on? I see that Lord Dark Soul did ask to draw a question, and now nothing's happening. All right, this one's from X Factor 27. He says, the fans demand more Christmas chest hair. Will you deliver? More Christmas chest hair has been requested by the fans. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2013, presenting the DSP Christmas Chest Hair Spectacular. No, I'm kidding. Oh, my goodness. All right, next question, please. All right, this one is from Krosner Tony. It's a long one. Bear with me. He says, Phil, recent reports say that the PS4 has 1.5 million pre-orders. The Xbox One is only launching in 13 countries. Yet games are better at launch, it seems. But people will buy the PS4 more for the games that they know will eventually come out, such as the ones from Naughty Dog and Santa Monica, etc. Thoughts on this mentality? Well, it's like I said in the first segment of the podcast tonight. For the launch, undoubtedly for the launch, it's looking like Xbox One's going to have a stronger launch, at least with the console exclusive titles that it's going to have. But you got two major factors here. Number one, the massive negativity now associated with Microsoft because of Don Matrick and his ridiculous elitist attitudes earlier this year to the press, leading for him to finally just leave Microsoft, all right? And all the anti-user, anti-gamer practices that Microsoft was going to institute, including always online, DRM restrictions, okay? And the fact that it's funny because people are still interviewing Microsoft and they still kind of say, well, you know, we still feel that that's the future. We still feel that that's the way everything's going to go. For now, since we had negative backlash, we've decided to get rid of it. But who knows what the future may hold? It's like, did you not hear the overwhelming fuck you, no, we don't want it from gamers? What makes you think eventually we're going to want to accept it? Like, Microsoft is out of their mind. So you've always got that negative stigma in the back of your head from all the stuff that happened this year, regardless of the fact that Microsoft did a 180 on a lot of it. Number two, you're absolutely right. That's an extremely valid point, saying that you've got major, major developers, Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, there's one or two more, Media Molecule for Little Big Planet and the stuff they're probably going to pump out eventually for this. And I'm sure there's one or two other major, you know, Sony-only studios that are exclusive to Sony right now. Santa Monica, yeah, Sony Santa Monica Studios as well, that you know, in the long run, are going to put out outstanding console-only, PS4-only console-exclusive games. So if you're really looking at long vision, right now, I think PS4 looks like the better option. We don't know, though. We don't know what Xbox One is eventually going to get, besides Halo and Gears of War, which I think at this point everyone's like, fuck, who cares about fucking Halo and Gears of War? You know, it's played out, you know, enough with that. So, I see, valid point, I agree, but it remains to be seen what's going to happen, okay? Next question was from Color Me Kevin. He says, who is my favorite Marvel villain? I have two. I have two favorite Marvel villains. I'd probably say my second most favorite Marvel villain is Thanos. Because even though he has not been in a ton of plot lines, when he's in a plot line, he's badass. The ones that he's usually in, he becomes like the guy who's the top guy, the top threat. Take a look at Infinity Gauntlet. Infinity Gauntlet, he gets the gauntlet and fucks the universe. Infinity War, he doesn't even want to fight anymore. He gets dragged into it and ends up, winning the whole thing for everyone. It's almost solely him, although it is Adam Warlock that ends up winning in Infinity War. And now it actually looks like for the Avengers movies, eventually they're going to have him. Like he's going to be the villain, because it was teased at the end of Avengers 1. That character that you saw after the credits was actually Thanos. So, and let's face it, he's got a hard-on for death. That's right. He's in love. He's so badass, he has to go after the one woman who he knows is unattainable, Lady Death. That's who he wants to fuck. Death itself. That's fucking ballsy. And the other one would be my number one favorite Marvel villain. A lot of people are going to agree with me on this one, I know. Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom has his hands in everything. Whenever there's a major Marvel event going on, behind the scenes, Doctor Doom is doing something with it. Now, recently, from what I'm understand, Marvel's fucking around with bullshit. Oh, the X-Men are villains, and Cyclops is an asshole, and the Avengers are fucking dicks, and Marvel does this from time to time. They go out of their way for like 5 years, they fuck everything up, then they eventually go back to their way. Doctor Doom will return as a badass villain. I am 100% believing that Doctor Doom is going to return to the Marvel Universe as a badass villain. He's going to fuck everyone up. He always does. He has these crazy, overly complicated plans going on behind the scenes to try to fuck everyone over and somehow grasp control of the whole situation. And he's a classic Marvel villain who's endured over the years. He's an independent. He actually doesn't work for anyone. He's always the top dog when it comes to the equation. He doesn't work well with others. He always has subordinates. He's always the guy in charge. And Doctor Doom, I think he's going to go down in history as probably the best Marvel villain. I really do think that. I think a lot of people agree on that. And so I say Doctor Doom, by far, all hail the dictator. All right. Let's get one or two more questions here tonight, everybody. Can someone please draw a question? We've got a lacking of questions here in the chat, and I want to do at least 1 to 2 more. Any day. You say you drew one above. I can't find it. Let me see. No. Who is your favorite Marvel villain is the last question I see here. Alright, here we go. This is from Lee Eagles. I can't even read it. Obviously, he's fucking an idiot, because here's his question. Wow, I'm pressing buttons. Thanks, Kojima, you fuck. Wow. You got me. You stuck it to me. You've ruined my night with your trollish statement instead of a legit question. I'm now quitting the internet. I'm done. I'm not picking up Arkham Origins. I'm not playing any more games. I quit. You got me. You stuck it to me. I'm done. I quit. That's it. I'm done. Goodbye. Good night. What a fucking idiot. All right, next question. All right, we got 2 more. I don't want any. Please don't pull any more. We got 2 more, and that'll end the show. This next one is from Odie Chris 234. He says, Phil, you ever consider doing a retro replay of one of the Assassin's Creeds? The only one that I would consider doing at this point is Assassin's Creed 1, because I played that before I did anything for YouTube. And it's a game that I actually did thoroughly enjoy, although most people say it is the weakest Assassin's Creed. I actually liked it a lot. But I don't know at this point if anyone would watch it. And I hate to say this, okay? But what I've been saying for the past year and a half now, it seems like if a game is not some insanely white-hot new release, no one cares anymore. And I hate that because just look at the games that I played this year. Wind Waker, that I got to experience for the first time. Some of my favorite classics, like Chrono Trigger, like Earthbound, like Zelda Link to the Past, okay? Some kind of sleeper hits like Tales of Exilia, which I actually really enjoyed for a JRPG. Some other earlier retro games earlier this year that God of War 1 I played as a retro replay. There's just a lot of examples of games that I went back and played, and people were like, it's old. There's already new ones. I don't want to watch this. I'm going to go watch Minecraft and Call of Duty, and I'm going to wait for Grand Theft Auto 5. And it's like, let me put it this way. If I ever have an inkling to play Assassin's Creed 1, I'll do it as a playthrough, but I'll do it for me. I won't do it for trying to do views and all that, because I know these people have such short attention spans at this point that if it's not some new overhyped game, there's very few people who put their time into watching the videos anymore. So I gotta obviously do stuff that's interesting for my audience. If they don't find that interesting, then I can't do it. But if I have a desire to play it in the future, I will, okay? All right, last question, then I gotta get going. Last question is from Bazooey17. What is your favorite movie of all time? Now, I can't answer that. I've been asked this on Ask the King before. I can't answer this because that's not fair. If I ask you what was your favorite movie of all time, all right? Well, wait a minute. There's comedies, there's dramas, there's dramedies, there's horror, there's so many different kinds of movies that to just want one as the best movie of all time is absolutely ridiculous, okay? Just like if I said, what's the best video game of all time? What's the best painting of all time? The best television show, you know what I mean? I don't have a definitive favorite, this is my favorite movie of all time. I have a couple go-tos. When it comes to comedy, Ghostbusters, Animal House, I know I'm missing a ton. There's like 3 or 4 like comedies that I really hold in such high regard. They're kind of like my go-to when you think about that. Dramas come and go. And what I mean by that is a drama that's popular today, you might not like again in 5 years, because dramas are heavily based off of the story. And once you know maybe what's going to happen in the story, same thing with thrillers. Once you know what's going to happen in the story, you know the twist, they may not have longevity. And that's what I mean. A comedy may have longevity because you laugh at this thing every time. A thriller or drama may not have longevity. You may think it's the best movie now, and then in 2 years you might not even like it at all because you already know the movie. So it's really hard into something like that, in an evolving art form, to say what is the best. The best animated film I feel is Lion King. I think The Lion King was the best animated film ever made. As of now. I'm not saying that there won't be better ones in the future, because there's some that come close. Something like Toy Story, 1 or 2 others come close, but I think Lion King still edges them out. Musicals, it's got to be West Side Story. And I know you might be thinking I'm joking, but I'm serious. West Side Story is a fucking outstanding movie. Like, I could still watch West Side Story today from start to finish. I love it. And I don't even own it, and I haven't watched it in years, but I can tell you the whole movie. I can tell you all the songs. Like, it's a redo of Romeo and Juliet that was done in such a great modern way that it really just sticks in my mind. And actually won Best Picture when it came out. So I think that's probably the best musical of all time. Just trying to think, because that's what I mean. There's so many genres. Horror is like, damn. I mean, there's so many horror. Do you like horror movies for the camp factor, the B movie? Do you like horror movies for the actual legit scares? Do you like horror movies for the jump scares? Do you like horror movies for the psychological horror? I could name a bunch. I can name a bunch that I think were really well done. I think The Ring, I think, is probably, for psychological horror, one of the best movies ever made. It still fucking freaks me out. It does, seriously. But then, of course, there were other movies, like slasher movies and stuff, that I really enjoyed, like the Jason stuff, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I can still watch those and enjoy most of them. There are a couple stinkers in there, all right? But for the most part, they can be pretty entertaining. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you my favorite movie of all time, but there are a lot of them that I like out there, okay? All right, so that is it for this edition of Hate Live. Thank you very much, whether you're watching this on Twitch or YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube and it's way later than usual and you don't know what's going on, it's, as I said earlier in the episode, YouTube's fucking up. Videos are not processing properly. I'm actually waiting to hear back from YouTube and see if they have a solution, because I gave them a ton of my videos that were stuck in processing, and I don't know if they're going to actually fix it or they're going to make me want to resubmit them. Right now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to upload this video to YouTube, and if it goes live, great. If not, I apologize. It'll go live whenever they fix their shit, okay? Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. The countdown to Batman Arkham Origins, it's now less than an hour. So literally, I'm going to end the podcast, upload this, get ready to go. All right, I'm excited. So I hope you'll join me for the Arkham Origins midnight content, late night content tonight. I hope that you'll join me all this weekend for Batman. I hope you'll join me for Lego Marvel Superheroes. And, of course, next week, the Super Duper Overload. I don't even know. I'm not going to promise you guys yet whether or not I'm going to do a Hate Live, because I want to see how I do with those games before I make any crazy promises, all right? So thanks, everyone, for joining me for Hate Live. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. I'll see you soon. Arrivederci. Bon voyage. Sayonara. Adios. Toodaloo. Good night.